All right, class, here we are, the last half of Module 6, and we're going to start working with files. There's a lot of stuff on Net Academy. Please make sure to read it all and understand it all, but I'm going to cover some of the basic stuff here. Try and keep this short. Working with files is pretty simple. We're talking about text files here. Now, if you're going to work with PDFs, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, you're going to need to import libraries to do that correctly. But right now we're just talking about normal files, text files, which is most of what is on your computer is a text file in some form or fashion. So you can do a lot with just simple text files. Let's do the first thing is create a new file. It does not exist yet. And we'll call it file. And we will name the file file test. .txt. Got to give an extension here, and we are going to write this file with the W. Now it's important to remember, right now I'm working on a scratch file, just a normal file. It's not been saved yet. These are saved in this location here, in scratch files. So if you just run this and create a text file, it's going to create it in this location where the script resides. If you want to save it, if you want the file to be created right next to the script, you need to save it as something else. So let's do save as, call it files, save it in the location as everything else, hit OK. And let's write something to this file. This is a test file. And if we run this, we'll see file test is completed there. And if we open it, this is a test file. We created a file and we wrote some information to it. Super simple. Now, if we want to add more, let's see. Let's do this. This is different text. We run this again. What happens? It completes, and I shouldn't close those. We go back here to the file test. This is different text. It completely overwrote everything that was in the file. Basically, it got rid of the old file and put a new file in there. So if we don't want that to happen, we need to change this to an A for append. This is some more different text. And if we run this, we'll see that it has added. This is more different text. This is text, the first right, the second right. And as long as you append, it'll keep doing that. If you want a new line, make sure to include the new line character. Super simple. So let's say that you have a file that is already open, or that already exists. Then we'll use this lorem, as you will do in some of the projects. Now remember, I said this should open the file. Let's do this real quick. And then print lines. See if this works. Oop, I'm hitting the pen. R. So here's the whole lorem file as one long line. This works because the file is saved. If the file is somewhere different than the Python script, you'll need to add the whole path right here. so that it knows where to find the file. So just don't forget this. If you're working with a file that's not in the same directory as the Python script, you need to point out the whole path to that file. Here's something I did recently. This is a GUI, and it takes an HTML document and parses out some stuff and puts it in a Excel spreadsheet. And to do that, I created a GUI for it too, but I used OpenPyXL and several of the modules within that library to do this. But when I run this, it might show up. Here it is, way over here. It's a little GUI, and this is how I'll show you how to do this next week. But this is how you can point out paths. So I selected the directory, and this is something that I have inside the program. It finds the file, it finds other directories, but this is how Python sees it, and we'll use it. So just remember that if it's not saved, like in the scratch file, you will need to put the whole directory in there. And this brings up another point. You see how this turned orange right here. Sometimes this will happen, and other times it won't. Within PyCharm, I think it's a PyCharm deal. Python generally is smart enough to realize that what you mean is the backslash. But sometimes you may have to put 2 in there. Remember that it will interpret, it sees the first one, and then it will interpret the second one as a slash. So what Python or PyCharm sees is just a single slash when you have 2 in there. Enough about that. Let's go back to doing something else. Okay, so we've got this reading the lines, and it prints out as one single line, or one giant, the whole file is now this variable lines. If we want to print out each single line for line in lines, for each line in lines, we want to print the line, the one line. And you see that it prints out each line individually. It seems to add a lot of space. Not sure where it picks up all these spaces, but I found this, in fact, when I was writing this other program, it adds a lot of spaces in there. I'm not sure where it picks those up, but it's that simple. Opening a file, reading everything. Now, if you want to perform something on this, let's say, for instance, you want to find out how many punctuations there are, hint, hint, wink, wink, in a particular file. Colons, some semicolons in there. Not sure if this is necessary or not. Well, let's say for line and lines, for each character in the line, if let's do this. Let's see if I did this right. Int into string, of course. There's always something that I mess up, right? That's why I like programming, because it's simple to fix. Oop, messed it up. Takes 2 seconds to fix it. And you find there's 295 punctuation characters in this document. So now that we've opened the file, we've brought it in, we iterate through it, iterate through the line, in the lines, for the character, in each line, and then we run something against it, or do something with it. That's pretty simple. Let's try something else. What was that? Files? So if I wanted to make a simple document, every time I want to write a new line, so this is the first line. This is the second line. Third line. And we'll run this. And we should see that files, was it files? It was files. First, second, third line. Now, if I do this again, like we showed before, if I leave that as W, it will overwrite it. If I do this as append, open that up, we got all 6 lines. But if I left this as a W and run it, it will overwrite everything. So just remember that. That's kind of important. Append versus write. And that's pretty much all you need to know. We'll do one more thing just to kind of solidify what we're talking about here. But let's work with this lorem. Lorem text. We're going to open this one to read. Let's do file 1. File 2. I'm going to create a new file. Since we're going to create a file, we need to put the W. And let's see. Let's do character. We're going to go character by character and convert them all to upper. And we're going to write that to, oops, to the file. So obviously it's going to look at every character. There's no to upper for punctuation. There's no to upper for spaces, but I'm pretty sure that this will figure that out and do it. Let's see what happens. No error. We created our text. Well, let's compare the two here. The original lorem got commas and spaces, and the to upper still got all the same commas and spaces. but everything's been converted to uppercase letters. Kind of pointless, but I'm hoping that it simply illustrates that you can open the files, work on the files, write the files, and it's all very simple. This is it. This is the last little bit of stuff for Net Academy. Next week we'll finish up on all the tests, make sure that all your past due work is in. If you have any questions, please shoot me an email, and we'll get into some other stuff when we're finished with Net Academy. Thanks a lot.